tangko dia. ये तो यास का होगा ना।
ये शुरू से और यास का शुरू से।
Santa, can you hear me? Abra. Santa.
Tay sir.
Oh, baik.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Sir, WhatsApp ta tantra trukti Sunday da attendance submit to have to 17 di ani ko sir.
You can submit on Monday.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Monday.
Mahmud. सामने तक करना है
थम करेगा थम.
I think we should start now. As usual, welcome to all on the 5th day of this session of soft skill development program. And we thank God again for giving us a pleasant day so that we can continue our day-to-day program. Today's topic is on stress management and combating nervousness. Again, it is a very important topic. And as we have said earlier, this program is organized as part of the celebration of our Independence Day 2020. So I think I should request once again the listeners, especially the kids, to listen attentively and do not play while the program is going on. Otherwise, you may not be getting the proper, what we call the proper lesson which we have learned. So kindly, the students, especially, kindly be attentive. And
And you
now
can
I think we
tell,
should.
Thang, you can explain in local language also. Local.
Lone hori ke amta hierarchy ko. Ngarang akoi mari manga tore adu yam ngai yam nakanai adu marakta ki angang kharana angang haisira kana no khangdre pencil चीज करेगा कोई स्क्रीन दा स्क्राइब to ba unnecessary ya moiba कोई stop to ba कोई online training do खरा stop to ba adi cancel la eba aduna aina request ore noida anasu tumaina to biranu asana tau orang friend noi ki dama noi ki oren physical training na tebo theoretical training se noi ki dama ka na bane asana noi dan tam ho gradi asigi je wastage hodini aduna noi anna ina agang singbu request tawzare asana tabiru aduga sanadunu asana tau uma khattani kuide si am ka na noi ki dama yamna matangda noi ki oren middle bagi chance yamna asigi noi ki first se sidagi sempat tadi oren noi ki se ground khatta da yada bunina noi amta khajana listen to ko please aduna matam tasille ko yam tamning bane adu yam kan haira roy adu I think we should now switch on to our resource person Mr. Mu to guide us. Over to you.
Thank you, and
Are you there?
yes, thank you everyone, and thank you for joining again. Mayambu han bamakta welcome tauzari. So today akoigi ngasigi topic se it's not something new. Stress management amadi combating nervousness hai bize all of us as players have been taught about some form or the other of stress management, and our coaches, our teachers have always as part of our training have always encouraged us or also given us tips on how to deal with stress as well as combating nervousness at some point or the other. So I'm sure this is not a new topic for most of you, but in any case we would just want to undertake a quick overview and also understand, sensitize you on the importance of stress management. So I would like to start with a small story where we've all heard this before, where a frog, if a frog, hangoyama akoina boiling water, ising saba isingda akoina maze thadaradi, the frog would notice the hot water and would try to escape. Haibadi ising asabada hapa matamda huziki hangoiduna maze hingnabagi honagani. But the same frog, if we put in a pot and the pot is slowly heated, and the frog would initially not notice the heat, the frog will try to adjust his body temperature against the rising temperature, until it will reach a point where the heat will be so much that it will not be able to adjust and it will therefore die. So stress is also something similar to that. We always experience stress at some point or the other in our lives, and we keep trying to adjusting to the stress. Stress adjust, but there also comes a time when it becomes unbearable for us, and we just sometimes are unable to cope with stress, and it impacts our professional life. Akoigi sporting ki career da impact lakpi ai, akoi family friends ki relationship da su impact lakpi ai. Aduna stress hai busy akoi afaba stress lay, but after some point stress yamalakpadagi akoigi hakchang ju sokpa natraga akoigi mental health su sokpa atei mayam ama sokpa laibani na. stress is a very important thing that we have to understand. So stress management, what is stress management? It is a set of techniques and programs intended to help people deal more effectively with stress in their lives. Haibadi, stress management hairakanda akoigi kamaina deal tawzige, stress to kamaina handle tawzige, akoigi professional life as well as akoigi personal life ta. And by understanding stress kaidigi thulakpanu aduga akoi positively kamaina deal tawzige aduga stress se kamaina minimize tawzige haibagi mayamje stress management gi makhad lai. So the one important point that we have to remember is that we cannot eliminate stress in our life. There is no such thing as stress-free life, and that is unrealistic. Stress akoigi punsida suklai leite haibaje haibi yade. Some form of stress is always important, but how to deal with the evolving stress, the daily stress that we face, and the performance stress that we face. Masigi matangda kamaina tawzigi haibaje mathang khanaji. So stress haibajida stress management ama leire aduga what in particular what is stress haibu matamda, it is a stress is perceived or it can be seen in the psychology of a person. Adi wakhangi stress ama leiba yai, akoigi hakchanggi stress, physiological stress also will be there, and then our behavior, our reaction to a certain lack of equilibrium between the demands placed upon us. Habadi mi amagi expectation maga akoina deliver to biyaba akoina angamba puthok biyaba adugi khenaba la kanda zu stress kumbal hekta thulai. And when our ability to meet those demands, habadi akoina mi amagi akoi competition yauba akoi expectation ga akoi deliver toba ngamba akoi na pangthokpa ngamba performance khinara kanda zu adu matam da stress lakpa yai. And akoi na stress nungti gi stress se kuira khanda akoi je hakchang da solokpa adagi akoi gi mental health solokpa simyam je laibani na simyam je akoi na stress saina identify to yai. So what are the symptoms of stress? Although we experience haidi mi amaga stress ki experience khenai adoi tarju chawrakpa yam common oiba symptom stress ki symptom oibi yana akoina lobi yabadi. For example, difficulty breathing, tumbada sound sleep laktaba ato tumba haidi pung ama ani ngatang tumbaga atai di tumba yaraktraba haibagumba. So difficulty sleeping. Next thing is weight gain or weight loss. It's another symptom. And then occasionally we might face stomach pain also. Stomach pain, chakhau nare haibagumba tholakpayai, which can be a sign or a symptom of stress. Then what are the other common symptoms? Irritability. Irritability haibadi yam thuna akoi je yam sauganba haibagumba. Natraga yam yamna fast reaction reactive oiba feeling yamna emotional hekta oigan ba hitare. Then another symptom could be teeth grinding. Yeah, those minor grinding tauba. Panic attack. Panic attack panic attack is different from heart attack. But the panic attack does not necessarily come with a chest pain. Aina panic oirakpa yam pakhatpa oirakpa yam pakhatgan ba hitare. Aduga kok chikpa headaches can be another symptom of stress. And difficulty concentrating, and this is becoming very common, difficulty concentrating, because we are distracted all the time with our mobile phones and other things. So difficulty concentrating is another symptom of stress. And sweaty hands or sweaty feet or sweating a lot can be another symptom of stress. Heartburn. Now, heartburn is the feeling when you have like, for example, when you overeat and you have a little bit of discomfort around this area, just around your chest. And these heartburns are generally caused by uh, for a lot of gas forming in the stomach, for example. And this is heartburn is not necessarily a heart attack. And excessive sleeping. Ngasai akoina tumba yadabagi symptom ama hai, huzikina opposite na tumning ba ngatang pharokpa haiba tare. Excessive sleeping is also another symptom of stress. And social isolation. Koi se tanam tanaga pau phaunadaba, koi tumin tumina leiba, ithanda leiba haibagumba. Social isolation. Fatigue. Koi nungti gi sum warak pa haitare. Physically koi se drain tarakpa. Aduga nausea. Koi nausea is like the feeling of vomiting, and it's not you're not actually vomiting, but you feel like vomiting. And then feeling overwhelmed. Feeling overwhelmed is the when you feel that you cannot do anything more, like nothing matters anymore. So you feel that you're not able to do anything else. And then obsessive and compulsive behaviors. So when people start to have stress, people become obsessive or compulsive, and they divert into smoking, drinking, and other bad habits. But we also have to understand that stress is helpful. Stress say yam kana bapur amadi oi. And historically, human history akoina yengkanda, it has stress has helped human beings to understand the environment around us, and we are able to react to the environment around us. Eh, because of stress, it tells us when to run, when to fight. And so this response is referred to as the fight or flight response, or the stress response. Akoi stress thulakanda, akoi huziki problem akoina thengnabdo, we directly try to deal with it. Akoi natraga akoina problem dagi natraga stress to dagi akoina lapna chenthokra haibagumba. So it is called a fight or flight response. So for example, in the ancient times, when human beings saw, let's say, a huge lion or a tiger, they would decide whether it is better to save their lives and run, or deal with the problem if they have sufficient number of people working as a team to be able to defeat that danger. So when used at the right time, stress increases our awareness of our surrounding, awareness of our strengths, of our own self positive traits, and also it improves when when stress is used purposefully. It improves our physical performance in short bursts. Now, stress is also harmful. Akhoi nungtigi stress thengnarakpa oiradi, our body will start to react to that long stress. Our mental health will suffer. We will now experience physical health. For example, when someone it is found, there is evidence that says that when someone is stressed for a very long time, he will develop heart diseases, diabetes, anxiety, and depression. Now, we also have to differentiate between stress and burnout. Now, stress is inevitable. Stress see punchida adum lakdo lere, thengna lere. But burnout haibasidi avoid tawbiyai. So there is a big difference between a stress and a burnout. And a lot of athletes, a lot of our coaches with years and years of decades of experience understand this very well. And I am sure at some point or the other, you have been taught that this is stress and how you deal with it. This is burnout and this is how you deal with this. So another difference is that stress is a response to a certain problem. But burnout is the accumulation of excessive stress over a period of time. which means that when we are akoi stress manage tauba ngamdra kanda aduga stress adum hengalaga leirak matamda eventually we reach an such amount of stress that we are not able to deal with it, and that is called burnout. So in the 1970s, an American psychologist, Herbert Freudenberger, he has coined the term burnout. So he was referring to the extreme stress, the effect of extreme stress, and on the high ideals on placing helping professionals, such as doctors and nurses. So he was referring to the extreme stress that has been built over a period of time. Adum akoi stresses sanga nungtigi thengnara kanda akoina handle tauba ngamdra kanda kuirakpa matamda akoi se burnout thengna yai. So we feel burnout like koi training yam kanna tawre, for example sports ta training yam kanna tawre, and then training is stress koi handle tauba ngamdaba oibi yai. Aduga training se tha ani hum mari manga susila kanda akoi di handle tauba ngamaktre adu matamda akoi stress thulakpa yai. Stress tu akoi ne handle tawrak pangamdradi akoi burnout orani akoi di give up tawrani. So therefore stress management can offer people to avoid unpleasant experiences of burnout. Stress management phasana tauba ngamadi, then we will avoid burnout. Some facts about stress and burnout. So in the health sector, it has been found that stress is like a silent killer. Akoina yam toina taramba yai diabetes kumba, heart disease kumba, myamje koi silent killer ni na India da oiro ate lamdazu oiro asi leire na dum tabiramani. But some of the triggers, some of the causes of those diseases are due to stress and people's inability to handle the stress. So stress has found to be to cause heart disease. Stress le rakanda heart disease le rakpiyai, BP le rakpiyai, chest pain le rakpiyai, irregular heartbeat le rakpiyai. Because stress le rakanda mize they become there is hair loss after 3 or more months of continuous stressful events. And also stress accounts for 30% of all infertility problems. Nupada oiro nupida oiro infertility ze hosikan hengalena akoigi health professionals in hainai. And then out of the total infertility, at least 30% of this is caused due to stress. So nupadana sperm count handa hanba masigumba ze stress na cost of yai. And also pimples, for example, because of a lot of stress related issues, you might find that a lot of people have start to have pimples or oily skin. And stress can also cause weight gain. Weight gain stress lerakanda because of overeating or many other factors. So there is a particular stress hormone called cortisol. This particular hormone, cortisol, has caused the accumulation of abdominal fat and the enlargement of fat cells, causing a disease fat. Habadi fat, abdominal fat, amadi fat cells, hormone ama cortisol sina. It is a stress-related hormone, and this has caused the enlargement of fat cells, therefore causing weight gain. And also, stress has been found to correlation. Stress na cause to banataba, but stress ka mari leinaba cause of death. Cancer ga mari leinaba ama oire stress si, lung gi koi respiratory tract ki, heart disease ki, liver cirrhosis ki, accident zi koi mi ama stress yam oira kanda accident thokpa ki chance yam wanga ya adagi stress oira kanda suicide ki chance yam wanga kunina ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯦꯟꯁꯔ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ ꯂꯪ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯔꯦꯁꯄꯤꯔꯦꯇꯔꯤ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯦꯛ ꯂꯪꯒꯨꯝꯕꯒꯤ ꯍꯥꯔꯠꯀꯤ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯦ ꯀꯣꯔꯤꯂꯦꯁꯟ causation nataba correlation kharadi leire haibase ubu phangi aduga angangda hoi chronic stress nunti gi stress lerakanda it negatively impacts moigi growth ta negatively impact lai aduna kharadana malnutrition gumba height wang bangamdaba haibugumba asimyamse tholakpa yai and then chronic stress lakanda akoigi hormones yam release hormones kharaje release tawri and that impacts our brain and these hormones are actually intended for short term emergencies haibadi hojiki hormones e bhaki adrenaline gumba rush torakpa asigumba je actually it was helpful for human beings but yam toina masigi je tholakanda hormones yam toina masigi stress ki maram oiraga toina tholakanda they eventually hojiki akoigi brain cell that has an impact on through this hormone starts to have an impact on the brain and also stress can increase the likelihood of blood clots akoigi so akoina hojiki kanose stress ama thing yam chronic or stress thing na kanda yam kuina thing na kanda blood clotting ko thokna piyai and which can lead to in term stroke and other health conditions and it can repair cause damage to arteries koi arteries masi pokhaiba gumba natraga organ gi sokpa gumba masi gumba je stress ki maram oiraga tholakpa yai haibaje koi ubu phangi and also akoigi blood sugar level diabetes ki mari lena blood sugar level zu kano stress ki maram oiraga akoi masi sugar level zu koi or yam toina changes lakpa yai and then which can eventually lead to fatigue mood swings and other metabolic syndromes so on the positive note it has been found that stress levels can be reduced by laughing so many a times we might have seen in other cities there is a laughing club so every morning they would simply laugh so those kind of things have had a positive impact on stress levels and it lowers the stress hormones so stress hormones hairakanda ngasai koina pangibdo cortisol epinephrine adrenaline haibugumze it helps us reduce those kind of stress hormones and it strengthens our immune system and dark chocolate has been found to reduce stress hormones also so if we are planning to manage stress here are some steps to understand how to plan for managing stress so the first point is akoi stress management toge haiba matamda we have to understand a few series of steps the first step yan number step tana we have to understand what your stress is what is causing stress to you and each person's stress will be different mi amaga amagi stress haibaje khenaba lakani for example aigi imungi financial situation gi phibam lusilakpadagi aise gi stress ai kamaina akoigi institute akoigi campus phau training gi damak chattoino haibagumba adugi khalla akoi stress lakpa yai mi atopagi di as aise injury aise khong suobanina ai injury leibanina aise aigi sport ta kamaina sana doino haibagumba stress adum khalla stress lakpa yai masigumba tongan ba mi amaga stress haibase khenaba leibanina we have to understand what can cause your stress and understanding this what is causing you to this one stress then we have to identify the specific thing so what is the trigger of the next step is to understand what is the trigger hojiki stress to kamaina laino haibaje next step ta koina identify tawbo machangi so ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯄꯣꯔꯠꯁꯇꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯄꯣꯔꯠꯁꯀ ꯔꯤꯂꯦꯇꯦꯗ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ source of stress ꯃꯈꯜ ꯈꯔ ꯂꯩ ꯂꯥꯏꯐꯁ꯭ꯇꯥꯏꯜꯒ ꯔꯤꯂꯦꯇꯦꯗ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯉꯁꯥꯏ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯣ ꯑꯩ ꯑꯦꯊ꯭ꯂꯤꯠ ꯑꯃ ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯑꯩꯁꯦ ꯄꯩꯁꯥ ꯅꯨꯡꯁꯥꯒꯤ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯃ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯕ꯭ꯂꯦꯝ ꯈꯔ ꯂꯥꯛꯄ ꯌꯥꯏ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯁꯦ ꯁ꯭ꯇ꯭ꯔꯦꯁꯁꯦ ꯅꯨꯡꯇꯤꯒꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯂꯩꯔꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯃ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯕ꯭ꯂꯦꯝ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯊꯣꯛꯄ ꯌꯥꯏ it can affect our performance also. So some people have suggested that masigumba financial stress lakanda what if you're able to get a part-time job which can pay for your basic living but allows time for training. So things like that, lifestyle related akoigi family related akoigi personal related oiba stress ki source ama oiba yai. And then another source is emotional. Emotional stress e anamba matamda koi yam emotional oiganbanina is sometimes very difficult to control. So when we are under emotional stress akoi yam kai tar emotional oiba akoigi sadness natraga anger masigumba stress akoi emotion da akoigi emotion da sokpa stress akanda for somebody in the sports sector we are very fortunate because you can use your daily training as a form of therapy. So which means once you're able to focus and dedicate on your training, that physical activity itself is so helpful that it will relieve some of your emotional stress. But we should also keep in mind that we should avoid very serious competition like participating in competitive events when we are under great stress. Habadi akhoi je yam chronic oiba stress masi thengnaba matamda akhoi je yam high end competition gumba events gumba yawada akhoi khara chechinji. Of course participating in non serious competition is fine, but during great emotional stress it might be difficult for many athletes to deal with that stress. Then there is something called training stress for athletes. This is something that your coaches, your teachers are already fully capable of. They have a plan in place, they have a structure in place, they already have the best of things that they can provide to you in terms of the training plan. So I'm just trying to highlight what is already there, meaning that we know that training has to be progressive. Akwai training se tap tapna haurakpani haibadi akwai first day dagi loinamak hainabagi akwai coaches oiro akwai teacher oja mayamna adu taude. So training is always progressive, and akwai the quality and quantity of training masi je tap tapna akwai na hotnabada we are able to deal with the training stress. But at the same time our coaches and teachers are also very aware that after some time, after a continuous training period, there should also be regular breaks so that our body can adapt to take additional extra training stress before the training load is increased further. So each very difficult training session yam one training session ama hek loisinba matamda we should also give ourselves time for a recovery period before attempting the next step or the next level of training. And then another stress for athletes could be competition stress. Akoigi competitive events yawbo matamda akwai je stress lakpa yai. And so the best way to deal with competition stress is to always practice, which means that your training that is being delivered by your coaches, your teachers and others masigi competition gi stress laktanaba akwai je ngasai gi training gi matamda masigi je fazana practice tawba ngamadi, then we will be able to avoid the large part of competition stress. And so once we are able to, in the training period, once we are able to gain the athlete's confidence as a result of good training, and confidence hek sum wang akanda, akwai high level of competition yawba ngamni haibase akwai coach na identify tawbiraba. And then ozana zu akwai nang sigi level yawre haiba matamda, when we participate in those kind of coaches, it is most likely that we will be very successful in our events also. Now, another concept, akwai concept ama stress ki matangda, to identify the stress, total stress load haiba concept ama lai. So the formula of total stress load, mi amana stress kya pubangam bage at one point in time, kya pubangam ge stress load, kya masigi je haidi koina total stress load haibase, it is a complete summation. Loinamak stress myam se punjil laga akoigi stress load kya no haibase khangnabagi concept amani. So akoina ngasai hai hibdo lifestyle stress oiba, koi isagi personal life ki stress plus akoigi emotional stress, adagi akoigi training stress, adagi akoigi competition stress, masim yam se loinamak punjil laga, it is called a total stress load. So akhoi isamagna akoigi stress load se kya no haibase akoina stress kya handle tawba ngamge haibase akhoi aware oibatai. Adagi once we are aware, then we can start thinking about how to deal with the kind of stress. Fortunately, akoigi sports ta hojiki sanaba adagi akoigi fraternity gi manungsida, fortunately we know that a lot of the sports person are physically active, therefore the chances of stress as compared to the normal person is much higher. So I'm very confident that all of you will be able to handle stress much better than other normal person. So the next step in planning for stress management is to learn to recognize the stress signals. Nasagi akoina symptom khara neinare. So akhoi stress le laktore, akhoi stress se thingnatore haibase akhoi recognize akhoi khangba machangi. So isa gi stress masigi symptoms e kai kai no ai je toina kok chi e haibagumba, ai je yam toina chakhau nare haibagumba, natraga atai symptoms e akhoi yam thuna recognize yam khangba machangi. So we should be very good in recognizing these kind of stress signals. Then once we know that we are starting to have symptoms of headache, once we know what are the stress signals, then we have to start moving into what are your strategies. Akwai strategy ki matangda makha tana akwai negi ni, but in very brief, we should, when trying to deal with our stress, we should avoid very negative strategies such as alcohol or overeating and things like that, and we should avoid self-medicating. Hidak lang ki adugi dakar taba oiraktrazu akoina sijinnaba haitare adu matamda stress ki je yam phattaba moongda stress level hingat kani, aduna akwai alcohol gumba akwai overeating gumba ji avoid tawnaba tawji. Then once we know how to handle the stress, we have to start implementing it. Haibadi ai je sigi maram the stress oirakpanina, I have to start dealing with the stress, and now I have to fully implement it. So aigi for example ai je stress oirakand ai je yam overeating yam tawrena khallase. So in order to start implementing a stress management is I have to avoid overeating, and instead of overeating I could take the help of my friends. I could talk to my friends, my trusted friends, and I can try to talk to them about my situation. And we can also try to talk with our coaches, our teachers, and our people in our institute who are able to help us. And self-care, making self-care a priority. Masina haibadi akoi isagi well-being, akoi isagi physical oiro, akoi mental well-being ze priority piba. Now, so example ama hairake hojiki akoi flight ta akoi airplane tong kanda akoi instruction amana akoi flight ta kaigumba problem la akanda oxygen mask tara ani akoi flight crew singna akoi air hostess singna instruction ibadi akoi oxygen mask tara adi ihan han bada isagi oxygen mask hana panbiu haibaneba, which means we first have to take care of ourselves and then we can try to assist someone else. So in stress management, it is very important that we take care of our well-being, our mental and physical well-being. For example, getting enough sleep, getting enough rest time, getting enough physical activity. So just for example. And last but not the least, the most important part of planning for stress management is we have to seek support if we are not able to deal with it ourselves. The stress deal we should not hesitate. Mi amagi mateng hesitate we should always ask for help. Our teachers and our coaches are always available for that. So now let's move on to the techniques and strategies that we can adopt for stress management. There are 3 approaches. So we will discuss these 3 approaches in detail one by one. The first one is action-oriented approaches. So when stress happens, we should be able to take action and change the stressful situation. So this is something the action-oriented approach tells us. Haibadi action-oriented approach haibasidi stress lakanda akoi kainoma step ama lokhatlaga natraga kainoma tawraga akoi stressful situations change tawba hotnasi haibaneba. The first technique or strategy is to be assertive. Assertive haibasi ngasagi akoina ai isagi physical mental health se ai isagi yanaba priority busy haibaga khara mari lainai. So assertive oi akoina assertive oiba haibase aigi damak sigi je dakar tabani haibase koi selfish oina lowdaba ai isagi physical mental well-being ki damakti ai sigi je dakar tai haibase we should not think it in a selfish way. So whenever a stress something happens to us, like it can be akoi je time management the soul abanina akoi nutigi akoi office natraga akoi training mafam je late oina yoraga leire haibo matamda akoi je chei chaba yai aduna akoi je kai maram gi ai je nutigi class ta late oina yora ino haibo je koina yeng kanda ai je imungda thabak kai kai noma tawda yade haibo leirambi yai. But in order for me to reduce the stress of being scolded when I reach my classroom, I have to ensure that I yumgi thabak to I kona tawrage I class ta late oiramnina I mangjaw I khara in advance khara matam khara lawraga I hana chatlamage. So we have to be assertive either at work or at home. And this has to be when assertive oiba matamda we have to do it in a fair and a very respectful manner. We cannot just shout at other people and say that no, I will take care of this and I have to do this. So we have to be very fair, we have to be very firm, and we have to be very respectful. The next strategy is reducing the noise. So when we say noise, it's not sound that we are talking about. It is all the distractions in our life. Akoigi life the distraction miyam hujikandi yam leire, for example mobile phone oiro kai oiro distraction miyam lai. Masigi distraction miyam je akoina akoigi important oiba akoigi training session gi matam natraga akoigi meditation gi matam masigi matam jingda akoina hujiki distraction miyam je loin luthokpa masi ama yam dakar tai. And managing your time. The next thing is to manage your time. Akoi time management ze unnecessary. Akoi time management haitrakanda unnecessarily stress adum lae. So, for example, akoi ze training ze tha ama ani haudore haibo matamda. Akoi gi atai planning phazana ta horaga. Ai ze training the fully dedicated oina bagi damak ai gi matam ze smaina khaidu oge aina hana smaina sigi aina ada chatlamba sida chatlamba natraga si tawrambado ai khara handarage aduga training the fully focused tawrage haibagumba planning tawraga. We have to manage our time and our task so that we are less stressful. And creating boundaries is another strategy. So when we say creating boundaries, it is related with mostly behaviors. Haibadi aiga imanabagi yam luna tinnabani adoi tarzu aigi training gi matam aigi kano meditation gi matam aigi sports ki mari lenaba aigi activity da aigi marup mapang singazu ai ngahaktang di ai kano wari sanaba natraga phone da adu chat to adu matam zikra lepage haibagumba creating hoigi boundary ama set tawdardi akoi stress se adum lag pa yai. And then the next thing is to have a very clear mental frame of mind. Ahoina ka hena wakhanda kai noma thought haidi akoi ai movie yengjage natraga ai kano ai adu tawba ama ai adu tawdardi sugya yaroi haibagumba, which is distracting you from your main purpose, which is your training or your classes or your other important things in life. Masigi miyam se loin mag lawthokpa ama changi. Then the next type of approach are emotion oriented approaches. So masigi is emotion oriented approaches hairakanda, it is how we perceive akoina stress akoi, let's say for example akoi se injury mathoe akoi sanaba training gi matamda injury mathoe. So injury se akoina mi amanga tangda mana injury se tawrakpani mana magi maram oraga ai se injured orakpani haibana focus tawrakanda yam stressful oiba emotion sauba kotwa adum yam do tholakpa yai. Aduna emotion oriented approaches haibadi we are able to perceive the stress in a more meaningful way. So the first point under emotion oriented approaches is affirmation and imagery. Habadi stress ama thola kanda akoi je positive oiba moong da akoina khanba ama changi, and a positive emotion is very powerful and it can even change the way our brain tries to think of the reality. And whenever we have positive emotion, our negative thoughts become reduced. So positive statements are a good way to keep reminding ourselves that not everything in the world is very bad. Another strategy use cognitive restructuring. Sigi matang je yam kupnadi nei nabanga moy, because cognitive restructuring hai baze hoigi trained manpower, trained professional psychologists, hoigi sports psychologists ba masiga tanaraga masigi je cognitive restructuring, or which is also commonly called as cognitive behavioral therapy. Masigi je hoi trained professional amaga tanaraga tawwa machangi. And then but cognitive restructuring hai bazidi hoina hoigi thought process to negative emotion dagi positive oiba kamaina lehanjige haibagi therapy gi makhan amani. So, and then the other is ABC technique. So ABC, A stands for adversity. Problem though, adversity. A stands for that. And then B is the beliefs. So, and C is the consequences. So what this means is that a stressful event, a stress puthorokpa pot posak ama hai tare. Stressful event amazi akoina masigi je kamaina respond tawraga masigi outcome akoigi stressful event se positive oina positive oibum on outcome kamain tholok hansigi haibigi technique amani. And again, this is advised to be done under strict monitoring and advice from a trained sports psychologist. The third approach is on the acceptance oriented approaches. And acceptance of our situation is a very important, another important technique and strategy. So, for example, the first is related with diet and exercise. Now, diet and exercise has always been a part and parcel of a sports training, and you will know more than me what are the important diets that you have to do, what are the important exercises that you have to do. So, whenever we accept that we are going to have a stress or undergoing stress, making simple diet changes like not avoiding alcohol, avoiding coffee and caffeine related, or reducing our sugar intake is a proven way of reducing our anxiety. And then we all know that exercise, apart from the training that you do, the physical exercise, that the time that you allocate for your just a simple exercise also is a very effective in relieving mild depression and all of that. And then meditation and physical relaxation. Again, this, I'm sure this is part of your training also, meditation and physical relaxation. So use of yoga and other such techniques helps us relax our body. Eventually, when with a relaxed body, we also have a relaxed frame of mind. And then we have talked about this earlier also, build resilience in our earlier session. Resilience is very important so that we can come back from a very negative experience and from a very stressful experience and be a more positive and better person. The next thing is, when we have a certain stress, we should not all keep it inside. We should always try to find a trusted person, can be a friend, a family, or somebody in the sports institute, that we always should talk to them about a very stressful event or a stressful thing that is impacting you. So the moment you talk to someone, it is generally believed. Stress later mi amaga wari sanaba matamda stress ki matangda, it is generally believed that stress se at least half of them is already reduced. Mi amaga wari sanaba gi matam phangdrasu, we can even write it down in a piece of paper or a diary, and you will find that your stress has relieved to a certain extent after writing it down or talking to somebody. Having a good night's sleep is also very fundamental. This is our body's needed time to relax, and it will help us get over a stressful situation in the best possible way. Now we will quickly touch upon combating nervousness. Now, combating nervousness is related with performance anxiety. So sometimes it is also called choking. It is basically whenever you are nervous, it is likely that your athletic performance will also suffer. Akoi nervous oirakanda akoi performance, akoi sports performance masigi handaba yai, handabagi chance adum lay. Aduna we have to be able to deal with anxiety during sports, and our ability to deal with the anxiety, nervousness is very important. Aduga akoi stress related with haidi nervousness, akoi anxiety during game days. audience ki mamang the performance to ba natraga gi successful oibagi yam expectation wang kanda anxiety masigi stress levels e dum hen gat pi. So it can, this kind of nervousness, this kind of anxiety can prevent you from doing your best or performing your best in the event, and sometimes it can negatively affect your self-esteem, self-confidence. We nervous we self-confidence so it is very important that we look into performance anxiety in sports. Some of the symptoms anxiety na traga hojiki nervousness some symptoms might be there. Heart rate, heartbeat yam thuna oirakpa natraga breathing sor honba yam thurakpa natraga dry mouth adagi or very tight throat, trembling, shaking of hands, lips, voice shaking or very sweaty and cold hands natraga vomiting tobagi sensation lakpa natraga some symptoms might start to happen when you have anxiety in before or after participating in an event. Some of the causes are is like confidence training fazana yarak tabagi confidence khara handarak padagi performance anxiety natraga nervousness lakpa yai. Aduga sometimes na coach na yam expectation yam wangakpa matamda anxiety natraga nervousness lerakpa yai. Natraga sanaringai marak sida coach na hojiki nang na tawdoisi ko yam critical oibo po ni ko cg tawrako haiba matamda anxiety amuka hingatpa haiba leiba yai. So how do we deal with this kind of anxiety or nervousness? Akoina event ama yaw yam important oiba event yaw dorena khalaji masigi hek ki mamangda akoigi nervous feeling oibaje amaromda afaba oibazu lei. For example akoina discuss tawre stress haibaji yam helpful oibazu leibanina. So nervous khara oibaji normal ni na lobiro, it is nothing to be scared about. But akoigi nervousness se akoi akibada oina chadhandaba akoigi wakanda akoigi nervousness ne ya normal oibu poni masigi je ai competition natraga ai event to akibugi moongda chadhandaba adagi akoigi sports ki natraga event ama hek howdri mamangi nervous khara chapi ai. But once event to sports event to howba howradi masigi nervousness adum subside khara handai adum akoi experience tawramani. Akoi event ki mamangda mangjaunana haidi at least we arrive on the venue early so that we avoid unnecessary stress, and then we do, which you anyway do right now, is warm up kumba present tauba, stretching kumba present tauba before the actual start of the event. And then we visualize event to how mamangda we try to visualize how we have practiced, how we want to perform. So akoina ngasi nang hojiki event competition yawgado bagi kanoje magi maongje kamaina tawdoino haibaje visualize hana tawthokpa, and then mentally rehearse akoigi kokta smaina ai smain toge na sanaba technique oiba natraga strategy leiba myamdo we mentally khara prepare tauba before the event. And sometimes it helps to close your eyes haibadi close with closed eyes and with normal breathing we try to visualize and mentally rehearse our performance. And then we also have to be flexible enough for any kind of changes that might happen at the venue. Visualization also can occur. Visualize it can be before and after the event also to be helpful. And on the day of the event, wakanse loina thadoga hojiki khoina competition khoina yawgdoba event sporting event to da adu ngatang da focus toba aduga lakadoba pot mayam do lakadoba haidi hayeng hangchit natraga tha ama ani gi manungi lakadoba pot mayam do akoigi stress mayam do adu khandaba ngasi ngasi gi akoina thingnagadaba pot to adu ngatang khanba adagi ai ngamni ngamoi haibagi wakhanju adugi da chattaba. Instead of that, aina kamaina what aigi strategy kaino aigi techniques to achieve my peak performance I kamaina perform to doino habagi adugi wakhanda ina matam ina sijinaba. And before starting of the event aije hozik aigi practice tawbo matamda smiles mind tawbani aigi practice ga mimic tawba adugi ama kanani aduga aije hojiki anxiety yam kanna leirakpan matamda aina hojiki sporting event yawgdobase aije enjoy tawba ngamoi haibase ama khangaga aije hojiki sporting event je aina yam maru oiba event oibado aina yarikheina loina khonani adoi tarju aije adugi participation ju ai enjoy tawni haibagi wakanda chatpazu kanai. And then one simple tip which is force a smile. Hojiki numituda migi mamangda coach ki mamangda natra ate ate gi mamangda nangna hojiki perform tawgado nang yam nervous oitarju nang smiling if you force yourself even for few seconds it can change your attitude nangi attitude nangi outlook to by trying to force a smile yam namdana akoi nokpagi ama honnaradi akoi je akoi ki mental attitude akoi ki positive attitude ama ju lakpa yai. And we don't have to focus on the outcome aina prize phangadra phangwidra adugi da focus tawdaba but on my ability aigi training the aigi training gi matamda aina smile smile tawbunina aina hojik tawdoi je si smile makha taba aina smile tawdoini habagi aduda focus tawraga I outcome to the focus tawdaba. And relaxation, so as a result na relax oirakani and then you will know that there is also another day that I can perform better than today. After the event, despite all of the results, we start recollecting what has happened during the day. Aduga we focus on our action. Aina aigi performance smiles mind laibani aigi behavior smile lai aigi wakhanda sigi thought process smile lai sigi myam oiraga aigi performance ngasigi performance je hai aduga ai improvement tawgodo bu myam smile si myam je leire ubu phangi haiba gumbal adugi matam khara khaidok pazu kanai. And once apaina ngasi numitugi performance to aina feedback khara lawba matungda ai isagi feedback adagi akoi coaches oiro atei myam gi feedback khara lawba matungda aina masigi myam je mathang dadi ai smaina focus tawrage haibagi ama wakhan lakpa ngamadi then we are better prepared to have less stress in the future events also. So with these few tips I would like to end my session today and I would like to hand over time to sir.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation again, Mo. And it was very educative, and I hope so. Your presentation will surely help the athletes in their future endeavors. And tomorrow we'll be having all the listeners, all the viewers. Please listen that tomorrow we'll be having topic on anti-doping. And this will be the class will be taken by Dr. A.K. Joy, who is expert in sports science. So I'm very happy today that the attendance has also increased to up to 300 mark. So thank you to all the athletes, coaches, judges, and those who all have attended this afternoon for the training. And I request that who also most welcome tomorrow at between 1 and 2 p.m. again, you may attend the anti-doping session. You're most welcome. So with this, I think we should wind up. And thank you all, and see you tomorrow again at the same time.